Welcome back to Man Down Sports. As you can see from the thumbnail, man, we got to pretty much do Kevin Durant, LeBron, and Steph Curry's eulogy, right? We got to we got to get into this, man, because this era is over. I think it's a done deal for them. They daggone there might have to team up in order to be relevant again, because I think the NBA and Adam Silver has turned the page on the old regime and the old era of superstars, and they're ready to move forward and turn the page and go into this new era with the new superstars. And I'm explaining to you why I think that's going to be a real collective effort. I'm explaining to you why. The context clues when you listen to Adam Silver talk when he does his interviews, he's kind of letting you know that we're moving forward. So, and I apologize for getting in here late, man, because I was under the weather, man. I was a game time decision. I was under the weather. I don't know if it was allergies or some bad cold or whatever. It was creeping up on me. I had the chills and, sore throat and all that stuff, man. So I was taking superfoods and super medicines trying to get in here and give y'all a live today on Tuesday, because that's my day. So I came up in here, man, and I'm playing hurt like Jamal Murray was playing hurt when he dunked on LeBron last night, man. So y'all oughta show some appreciation for that, man, because I came in here to give y'all something to listen to and talk about and call in about and all that stuff, man. We got to get this in here, man. But I see Shay J in here. I see some moderators. I see Mikey Brass. Thank you. I see Lamar. What's up, man? Game time decision. Yeah, it was a game time decision, man. Another late show. Yeah. Another late show, big dog. But we in here, man. We in here. So y'all hit that share button, hit the like button on your way in here, man. We go get the rocking. First, a word from the sponsor. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play fantasy sports. I want to tell you about the easiest way to get in on some NBA action with Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. Just find your favorite player, or any player for that matter, pick higher or lower on that player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in one night. Pick between 2 or 5 players to fill your pick'em entry. Get every pick right, and you can net yourself some serious cash. Use the promo code Man Down Sports, and you can get your deposit doubled up to $100. You got to check on the map to make sure your state is eligible to play Underdog Fantasy. But as soon as you do, and if your state is, go ahead and download Underdog Fantasy's app. Use the promo code Man Down Sports, and you can, like I said, you can get that $100 match on your first deposit. And I would want to thank Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring Man Down Sports. All right, so why is the era done? Why is it the end of an era? If you can look, we're going into the second round of the playoffs. There's not going to be any LeBron. There's not going to be any KD. There's not going to be any Steph, right? Which is crazy. Steph and the Warriors didn't even make the playoffs. This is what their second time missing the playoffs in 3 years, and really they've been a play-in team even the time they did make the playoffs, man. So that dynasty is coming to an end. LeBron trying to work his magic with these rosters, and him being able to affect winning with how he plays is coming to an end. And the same thing with Kevin Durant, man. Even with big names and top heavy teams, they can't seem to do what they need to do. I get into why I think Phoenix has that issue. I think it's still a little bit of hope for KD and Phoenix. I explain that in a minute. But the playoffs is going to look a little bit different in the second round, and that might be a little bit by design, right? That might be a little bit by design. So I'm gonna play some sound bites from Adam Silver, and I'm gonna try to pick up on some of these context clues and some of the things he say when he's asked questions, right? He did an interview on CNN with Charles Barkley and Gayle King, and they was asking him about the old guys and the new guys that's coming up, and it was an interesting response to it. And then something else he said on JJ Redick's podcast as well. So let's see if y'all can catch it. I'm gonna go ahead and play for the CNN interview, and then let's see if we can catch some of the things he's saying.
And then we go right to the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
You got to be excited. I wrote down a couple names: Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards, obviously Luka. Steph and LeBron have carried the league the last 10, 15 years. But you got to be excited by some of the young guys going into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned those two, Shai Gilgeous and Anthony Edwards, because Oklahoma City and Minnesota, those teams are up and coming. I feel like Luka Doncic, some of the other young players, Giannis, obviously some others are getting a lot of attention. Those guys, for people who love the league, to tune into their games, because they're just now, I think, breaking through. I mean, people in the basketball community know them, but I think casual fans are starting to realize who those guys are. And you're right, that next generation, there's a group of international players, a group of U.S. players who are, off the charts. And that's what's so great about this game, that, that's who you were, obviously, when you played. And then when Charles retired and Mike retired, people said, what's going to happen next? And then they just come up. And what's so incredible now about what's happening in the league, I think you were on the Dream Team, of course, 1992.
Yes, sir.
And that was the turning point, right, of the international game, those guys coming over to where we are now, where roughly, we're getting close to 30% of the league are players born outside of the United States. The last 30%, last 5 MVPs, players born outside the United States. And we have players now from roughly 45 different countries in the league. So it's truly the global game. But honestly, thanks to Charles and that group, and you and I remember, or same generation, that Barcelona Olympics in 1992 is right when I joined the league. That was the turning point, I think, for global basketball. And so,
all right. So the key things he said 3 key things. Number one, is a global game, right? And we've heard them say that time and time again. We know it, we get it. There's a lot of international players. A lot of the international players are all-stars and superstars. If you look at all the championships, international players like Jokic and Giannis have won them. They've won MVPs the last 5 times. It's a big deal. It is a global game, right? All right. So that's no secret, right? But the other thing he also said is 30% of the league is international players, international born players. That's an all-time high. In the 90s, it probably was more like 1 to 2%. Now we at 30% of the league is international. So that's letting us know, okay, we got international players are growing in the NBA, which means the audience is growing, right? And we have to appease that audience, right? We have an audience of a lot of different countries, and they're rooting for their players, right? We want to make sure they got something to root for, right? So it is in the best interest. I'm not saying that they will help facilitate that. Not yet. I'm not saying that. But as a business, it's in their best interest to have those players be successful, have those players be marketed, and have those players have success. That way, you can grab as much as attention from the countries they represent as possible, right? Then the other thing he said, the question itself, when Charles Barkley said, he named Steph and LeBron. He left KD out. He got an issue with KD, but we'll add KD as well, because if you look at these last 15 years, this league has been LeBron, Steph, and KD, or LeBron and the Warriors, or how you want to look at it. This league has been LeBron, Steph, KD, and you can sprinkle in a little Harden, Westbrook, and Kawhi, but it's really been LeBron, KD, and Steph, or LeBron, KD, and the Warriors, right? So that's been a big deal for the league. Now, not so much, which is where we at with this topic. LeBron, KD, and Steph are not in the playoffs. That would be a disaster in the past for the NBA, not having LeBron, not having the Lakers, not having the Warriors, not having KD. These were the people that was carrying the league for so long. But I think that Adam Silver is now moving on from them. He's done with that, right? And why is that important? It's because a couple of things going to happen once they start marketing different players and stop marketing other players. So when you're not being marketed, then we don't need your success in order for the league to move forward, right? You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't market a player and he's always losing. You can't market a team that's always losing. So if I'm going to market you and push you into the forefront, and I want my league to be connected to you like a lifeline, I have to pump success into you, right? And there's a lot of different ways we could do that. Calling games a certain way that gives you every opportunity and gives you every advantage to be successful is one way the league helps market a player. Don't look like the Lakers, the Warriors, or KD. Don't look like LeBron, KD, or Steph is getting it anymore. So who's getting it, right? Here's another thing he said, so remember, we're not marketing LeBron, KD, and Steph no more. And then he mentioned the new guys, Luka and Edwards, and Jokic. Look at the teams who are being successful, right? Look at the teams that are being successful. It's very convenient. The teams and the players that we're now marketing are the ones that have been successful, and the guys that we're not marketing anymore can't seem to get out of the first round or even make the playoffs, right? Listen to how he talked to here's the second thing he said.
I think production is going to change dramatically over the next several years. And the other part about our game being global, I mean, even now, 75% of our viewership comes from outside the United States.
Wait, he said 75. Listen to that. 75% of our viewership comes from outside of the United States. Listen to this again. 75%. So it's like, oh man, I don't even have to force American-born players on our audience anymore, because 75% of our audience is not even American no more. Listen.
I think production is going to change dramatically over the next several years. And the other part about our game being global, I mean, even now, 75% of our viewership comes from outside the United States. And these isn't that incredible? And these, whether it's Max, your company, or whether it's, Netflix or ESPN Plus going global, we're a really unique sport in that we have fans all over the world. We're distributed to 215 countries and territories now, but it's not always so accessible when you're network to network. Think of where Netflix is growing on a global basis, and I think 260 million subscribers, and most of that growth now is coming globally. So we're at a really interesting time from a media standpoint.
So 260 million subscribers, and it's coming from outside the U.S. and it's coming globally. They're looking at that. It's almost like Christopher Columbus when they look out there and see this whole new world. We've got to get out there and that's uncharted territory. We got to go conquer. That's how they're looking at expanding and looking at this new market, right? We have to have something to bring to those different countries and those different people. We can't bring these American-born players. They don't have a heart or connection to them like they do the players that are from their country or from their continent. You get what I'm saying? So, a person from Serbia is going to connect to Jokic at the heartstring way more than they go connect to LeBron. A person from where Luka is from is going to connect to him more than they connect to KD, right? So if 75% of my audience is now outside the U.S., what do you do as the commissioner? Do you continue to have Steph, LeBron, and KD succeeding and carrying your league, or do you shift to your international players now, right? Do you make that shift? I mean, just think about it. It's almost like a strategy. You look at the last 5 championships. Toronto won outside the U.S., even though Kawhi was the leader, that team itself is a different country. That's Canada. Then after that, you get Giannis. That's Greece. That's Africa, right? That's a star that people overseas are looking at. Then after that, you get, who was it? The Warriors. You get the Warriors, huge market. They're a $1 billion corporation now in the league. They might be the richest franchise in the NBA right now, richer than the Lakers, which is crazy. Right. And that happened over the, so that's a huge audience that they, fulfill by having them win. After the Warriors, who was it? Jokic. That's another international player that people connect to. Right. So I think that's interesting how that thing is going. The MVPs, the successful teams, it's all a little bit too close for comfort on how it seems like it's working in the best interest of the NBA every single time. And I'm not saying it's an issue, because this is a business. And if I was running the business, I would want the best best case scenario as far as generating money and interest and all that stuff. I would want the best case scenario, right? Here's one more thing he said to JJ Redick.
Oh, I sort of view, right, your broadcasting as partners, right? The ESPNs of the world, the Turners of the world. We are partners of the league. And I don't know how much influence the league office has on the ancillary content around the broadcast, right? There's the game broadcast and then there's the ancillary content. But this is a genuine question. What do you think we in the media can do better about promoting the league as a whole versus what seems to me like promoting 5 or 6 teams a season and 5 to 10 players a season?
So, number one, we have very little influence on the ancillary programming, and you can speak to that because
that's false.
Now that you're part of that, I've never called you and said,
no,
I can't believe
right.
You're talking about this or that.
You're talking about ratings. We're talking about ratings. Like
so
real time.
You guys, despite what was written even about some talent changes at ESPN, the league does not have a say there. Where we do have a say is in the schedule itself. So there is a back and forth between the networks and the league office on scheduling, on determining which teams to max out on. There's, for the listeners, the networks are limited by the number of times they can put each game. We put each team on. Of course, we're just talking about the regular season now. And often the push from the league is let's feature more teams. Because in part, I see my goal as helping the league, I call it for shorthand, to become more NFL-like. And by that, I mean, and this is changing in a very positive way. Of course, we've had 5 different teams win our finals in the last 5 years. But historically, I think if you asked a casual fan, are you going to watch the NBA finals? They would say, well, who's going to be in it? And if you asked a casual NFL fan, are you going to watch the Super Bowl? They'd hardly ever say only if the Giants are in it. It's a national holiday. And I think a part of, my job is to take people who are fans of the game back to where we started. And by definition, create interest in whoever the teams are that are most successful, because those are the teams that they, in addition to whoever their hometown fan is or whoever their personal interest is, players and teams should think, I'm a fan of the game. This is the best basketball being played by definition because this team has gone to the conference finals or the finals. So I think where we can all do a better job, and again, I'm not just pointing to the media here, is talking more about the game. And I also, my frustration a bit, I think sometimes that the color commentary in our games gets reduced to this team wanted it more, or, this team tried harder, as opposed to like, there's really complex defenses. Like, what's the offense? Like, why is this team losing the way they are? Like, why is this team successful? Explain what the pick and roll is. Explain, it's funny, as our friend Chris Paul is always saying, what does ice mean? What does blue mean? Like, explain what's happening on the court, because I think there is this sense that, unlike in football, where the coaches are viewed as these field generals going out there with the complex schemes, then in basketball, there's a sense that it's just about athleticism, or somehow, the coach's job is just to get the guys to play hard, as opposed to these. And again, you could speak so much better to this than I can, but these incredibly sophisticated defenses, offenses. I think, just use another network example, I think Kenny Smith, when he goes to that board, is a great example of helping explain the game visually, graphically to people to understand what's happening on the floor. So
I find it interesting. This was 5 months ago when he did this interview. I find it interesting that everything that Adam Silver said, we should be explaining the game. We should do X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. That's the whole model for Mind the Game with LeBron and JJ Redick, right? It's almost like, so he started that little whole dialogue by saying, we don't have any influence on what the networks do, right? And he said, I've never, you're part of the media now, I don't have any influence because I haven't called you. No, you wouldn't call JJ Redick. You would call someone who's at the level that you are at the NBA. If you're the commissioner of the NBA, you're not going to call JJ Redick and say, we should talk about X, Y, and Z. You're going to call whoever the big wig is at ESPN And that's going to trickle down to the producers, and the producers are going to trickle that down to the talent, the on-air talent, right? That's how that worked, right? And I just find it very odd that the things that he is expressing is exactly what JJ Redick did with his podcast with Mind the Game and LeBron James. Explain these things, break it down, blah blah blah. Because what they're seeing is that they went a little bit too far with the debate shows, and they think that basketball is not that inviting anymore because it's turned into a drama fest. It's turned into a soap opera led by people like Stephen A. Smith, because you turn on ESPN and they're rather talk about how dumb Kyrie Irving is, or how if you put his brain in the bird, it'll fly backwards. And they'd rather do that stuff. They'd rather have Stephen A. Smith on there doing a whole 10-minute clowning session on Kwame Brown. Right? This is the type of stuff they're doing. Right? They'll make Stephen A. Smith the highest paid person at ESPN, and he has no sports background that I care to think about or hear anything he got to say about basketball, really. Anybody can read the history like a book and then regurgitate it and act like you know something. But if you can't explain to me like real basketball, like man, they lost the game, break down how they lost, and the only thing you can be like, oh, is he didn't show up. You ain't a superstar, and you doing all this crazy stuff. Nah, I like break down some film for me. Do some of that stuff. Make it at least feel like I'm watching somebody who watched the game, right? Because the way they do it on ESPN, you don't even have to watch the game to have an opinion about what happened. You can just look at the stat sheet and live your busy life and go and go on the soap opera and play a guy named Brick, and then do your podcast at night, and then fly all over the place and do all this stuff. Like you don't even really have to watch the game if you're Stephen A. Smith. You could just show up. Your statistician can give you a sheet of paper with all the notes on it, and you can go on First Take and just talk for 3 hours. Right? So I say all that to say this, right? End of an era, right? So if they're not marketing these players no more, it explains a lot. It explains why they're not in the playoffs anymore, right? And when you're marketing a player, you want them to be successful. When you want a player to be successful, they get star calls, right? When you're not marketing a player, they don't get those star calls no more. And it's you're fighting the uphill battle. They don't mean you can't advance in the playoffs. They don't mean you can't win ball games, but it's an uphill battle. It's harder, right? Do y'all remember? There was a movie called Clash of the Titans, and not the new one that came out in the 2000s. I'm talking about the one that came out in 1980 when I was in high school. Clash of the Titans, right? If you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen Clash of the Titans, it's a Greek movie, Greek guys. I think Zeus was the god on there, right? And the premise of the whole movie was something happened on Earth, and there was a death sentence that was sent out, right? And that was going to release the Kraken, and the Kraken was going to come and destroy the whole town or wherever they was at, right? Everybody that was in that area was about to get destroyed by the Kraken. And Zeus was like, shoot, I can't allow that to happen because my son's down there. Zeus was a god that's on his throne that came to Earth and impregnated a woman who had a son that was his son, right? So he's half God, he's a demigod, he's half God, he's half man. So he can't allow his son down there to get destroyed with the rest of the city, right? So what does Zeus do? Right? Zeus is he's on this throne. This is Zeus on this throne looking down at the city and holding a clay man in his hand, right? That's how, as a guy, he's controlling things, right? But he's not gonna fight his battles for him, but he's going to give him everything he needs to win. So he goes to go train. It was like, look, man, only you can destroy the Kraken when it comes out, but you're going to need Medusa's head to kill it, because that's the only thing that can kill the Kraken. Is anything that sees looks at Medusa turns into stone. But you got to go and kill Medusa to get that to be able to defeat the Kraken. So all out of nowhere, you know, he's training to fight, and out of nowhere, here comes this sword that just happens to be just laying on the ground. And this is a fascinating sword that only he could use. And then he gets Pegasus, this flying horse, and then he gets this great shield and this great helmet. Like Zeus is providing him with every weapon he needs to go and fight and succeed. So he's not fighting an uphill battle. He's going downhill because Zeus is giving him all of this, right? Why am I bringing it up? As the NBA commissioner, NFL commissioner, whatever sport you are at, right? You're trying to push your business out. You're trying to expand it. You want your business to grow every single year, right? So you're doing the best for your business to grow. If you want a player to be successful, you're going to provide him with everything that he needs to be successful, right? You're going to everything that you can, you know, as Zeus, if you're the god of basketball, if you're the commissioner as Zeus, everything in your power that you can give this player, you're going to give it to him. All right, the media. This is something that we could use for this player to you know, help him in the eyes of the fans think that he's great. Example, every year Luka is supposed to be the MVP. They've been chanting MVP for Luka for the last 3-4 years. They're trying to give it to him. They're giving him everything that he needs to succeed. They're giving him the MVP, but he keeps losing it, right? You have to do your part, but the NBA is going to do everything they can do. They're trying to give Luka the MVP. They're giving the Jokic, right? They're all the players they're trying to market, that's foreign-born players, Giannis, all these guys. They're trying to push these guys because they want that European market. They want that overseas market. These are the guys that we're moving forward with in the future. We're done with LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Steph. We're done with them. If you've seen how the Kings defended Steph Curry, they was beating him up. Steph Curry don't have that whistle no more. Kevin Durant hasn't had the whistle since he went to Brooklyn. He hasn't had the whistle, right? LeBron was getting it a little bit because, hey, we wanted the Lakers to win the 2020 year that Kobe went, you know, went to go be with the Father, right? So, we'll give him the whistle then, but the Lakers haven't got the whistle ever since then. Well, I'm sorry, the Lakers got the whistle all this season that helped them get in the play-in, right? But they didn't do them no good. My point is this: everything that they can give the player that they want to succeed, they're giving it to him. They're giving him the media. They're giving him the whistle. They're giving him every benefit of the doubt. And when they play another superstar, they're going to be favored in that game as far as the whistle. And we seen that with Anthony Edwards against Phoenix. Phoenix just couldn't get out their own way. You know, as far as calls, I mean, you could really beat Kevin Durant up. You've been able to beat Kevin Durant up since that series against Milwaukee, where his toe was on the line when he almost put him out. PJ Tucker was doing wrestling moves on Kevin Durant in that series. And then the next season in Boston, when they got swept, Al Horford, like, imagine this: Kevin Durant, as good as he was, Boston was switching every screen. I seen Al Horford stop Kevin Durant. I seen Jaylen Brown stop him. I seen Jason Tatum stop him. I seen Marcus Smart stop him. I seen who else is on that squad? It don't matter who switched on him. Kevin Durant could not get by them because they was allowing them to hold Kevin Durant on his dribble, right? And a lot of people was like, that was 90 style basketball. Yeah, but that was the only series that was allowing 90 style basketball. Why? Why was 90 style basketball allowed to be played on Kevin Durant? But when you look at every other series that year, there was nobody else getting 90 style basketball done on them. And then they got Boston all the way to the finals and then flip-flopped it and then let Draymond Green and the Warriors do the same thing to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So they're real tricky and sneaky on how they give what player they want to have the favor or what team they want to have the favor, because in their mind, the best thing that for us is for this player to win or this team to win or whatever the case. But and they've already seen an end result in their mind on how that's going to affect the bottom line. Like, this is a business. You don't think they're thinking and projecting this far out? If this player wins, this is going to be good for this market. This is going to be good for money. This is going to be good for business. right? So give this player every opportunity to make that happen. I mean, you know, that's almost tiptoeing to the line of rigging games, but it's not really. It's just you telling the referees, hey, call the game this way in this series, or call the game that way, right? And it should give that team or that player the advantage. You know, allow the moving screens on Golden State. You know, that's going to help Clay and Steph. You know, things of that nature. They're just tweaking the settings, the 2K settings, and that's just Adam Silver playing God. That's him playing Zeus. I'm going to do this for that, right? So that's my thought on how they're moving forward from these guys. The European market is the new way to go. I don't even think it's possible for the Mavs to lose this series against Clipper in the first round. Like, look for this game to be a lot in Luka's favor and Kyrie's favor next game, right? And notice the things that Kyrie is doing in Dallas with Luka. He couldn't even do with in Brooklyn with Kevin Durant when they played Boston. Imagine that. Imagine now that you're playing with Luka, we get to see 100% of Kyrie. But when he was playing with KD, the fouls that was allowed to do on Kevin Durant and Kyrie was just unreal. Why is it not the same for Dallas? Because he's playing with a superstar that the NBA is marketing and has interest in this person succeeding, right? Look how good Phoenix was. Best record in the league, getting to the finals and all that stuff. As soon as Kevin Durant goes to Phoenix, they don't get the whistle no more. They don't get the favor no more. It's an uphill battle for them, right? So when you play with a superstar that the league is done with, and the crazy thing about it is Carmelo Anthony has always been the player that's getting the treatment that Kevin Durant is getting. Like, Carmelo Anthony was never the chosen person like LeBron and Wade was. Carmelo Anthony had to go uphill his whole career pretty much. You know, so just think about the players who are the NBA's chosen ones versus the ones that aren't, and keep that in mind. I'm gonna open the phone lines up, man, and see what y'all think about that, man. The number is right here on the screen. Let me change that. That's a big old let's go with that. Boom, that looks better. So yeah, the number's on the screen, man. Call in, give me your thoughts on Adam Silver playing God for the new era of the NBA. Caller from Ohio, what's up?
Hey, what's up, man? Late night sports talk. I love sports talk, man. It's fun. It don't have to be too serious. It can get serious and all that good stuff. The end of the era. I mean, everybody's gonna have the end of an era. Jordan, Bird, whatever, Shaq, Kobe. So everything is, when it comes to sports, even in football sports, they're gonna end of an era. But what I would say about what's coming up is that it's not going to be easy to replace the era of this last generation, just like when Jordan and those guys retired, or let's say Bird and Magic was when Jordan came, so then they had somebody, to market. But right now, it's going to be kind of hard because to me, during the year you said, this is the best player, blah, blah, blah. I don't think nobody has really established themselves as the best player this past season. Everybody has, I can say about a lot of guys that had moments, a lot of teams that had moments, they have had runs and stuff like that. But to clearly say, he's the best player because maybe one guy is playing both ends, maybe one guy is just scoring, maybe one guy is scoring good but has a better record. So, that's going to be hard. And then, as far as marketing, right now, I think it's going to be about marketing a team, because to market a player, you got to have some highlights.
Well,
just leading the league and this and that. If highlights and aren't backing it up, then it's going. Because your YouTube hits are going to count too. And
you don't
right
you don't
now,
you don't think that well, first of all, remember the number, 75% of the viewers are outside the US. Right. So I don't think Serbians care about the highlights. They care that the MVP is a Serbian named Jokic, and he does have highlights with his passes. And they've already said for the last 3 years that he's the best player in the league, and it's not even close.
Who's the best player?
This is what the media and ESPN and Fox Sports and all this is what they're saying. This is what all the polls, if you look at Bleacher Report when they do their top 100, or if you look at any other sports magazine when they do their top 100, Jokic is number one. He's been number one for the last 4 years. So they're saying he's already the best in the league, and he's a foreigner. He's Serbian. 75% viewership outside the US. They already got a plan, and the plan is global. That's the words they've been saying for years. Global.
Right. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, like every year, I mean, they project stuff. I don't always go with their projections. I mean, Jokic, I mean, he did win the championship, blah, blah, blah. Usually when a guy wins the championship and has a good season, they always project him, because it was like with LeBron. When Giannis did it, they projected Giannis. When Giannis won, they said he was the best player, you know, the thing posed, whatever. But one of the things you got to look at is, like I said, 75%, but what they're looking at, like you said, the Netflix, they're looking at, like I said, YouTube hits and where are those hits coming from. Because whenever somebody's on YouTube, and that YouTube thing, and it's not so much watching the game at the moment right now, just like on anything on YouTube, just like, you know, with your platform, it's the people who's hitting it after, you know, it's not live no more. So a lot of that is filtered into that 75% that he's talking about. It's not like 75% of it. It's like watching the game, but they're watching segments of different things. Just like I watch a lot of stuff, but on YouTube, but I don't actually never watch maybe the whole interview. Like you see different things, or, you know, I don't want to name nobody, but different things. I've seen where it's talked about different subjects, and then I would watch that, but maybe not the whole thing. And then you got to look at jersey sales. The jersey sales still are Steph, who was it? LeBron. LeBron won, but Steph was still number one in jersey sales. You know, so that means, you know, and like I said, and you, like I said, and teams, what you're saying is that they're marketing, they're going to market teams right now, because to me, there's no clear best player.
Yeah, but that's your opinion. But the league is saying it's Jokic.
I mean, yeah, the league. But I'm saying for the audience, I mean, to me, only time there was a clear best player would have to be just in the Jordan era. Ever since then, nobody has ever been that much over the top to say this is the guy, where you may have somebody at 35, but you may have somebody at 32. You know what I'm saying? There's never been a really gap of somebody who everybody says is the best. Now, I said they're going to project, you know, that's their job to project who's the best player, and they put the poll out, whatever. But I'm saying there has never been nobody who's really stood, you know, even like when LeBron in his era, people were saying Kevin Durant was better. Now, LeBron may have had the edge of people saying he was better, but Kevin Durant was too close. You know, it wasn't like I said, it wasn't
Kevin Durant was better, but the reason why LeBron was considered better is because the machine was behind LeBron. Remember, Kevin Durant has been fighting an uphill battle. LeBron and Steph were the chosen ones for the NBA, not Durant. That's why Durant had to cut a corner. All right, y'all don't want me to get it because LeBron. All right, I'm a cheat it a little bit. I'm going over here to Golden State, and then when I face LeBron in the finals, I'm gonna show y'all who, if we play head to head on the biggest stage, who gonna get the better of each other. And he showed that twice. He did that twice. But what did the machine do? What did the media do? They still figured out a way to say, but you was on Golden State and this Steph's team, and you know, whatever, you know, they still didn't give him no credit for it. And it was like, well, you got to leave Golden State if you want credit. So he left Golden State, and then that's when they got him. They was like, all right, you ain't in that big market no more. You're not gonna have a machine behind you. You on your own. And that's what his career been that's what's been doing. But thanks for the call, man. I'm gonna move on because I got one more point I want to make.
Okay, let me say that. I was just say this right quick. I don't like I said. I was just saying that they were saying that LeBron was the best. I'm just saying that. But as far as being really the best player, nobody has really separated themselves as far as a big gap where you're like, okay, it's just people who don't like them. But this is clearly the best player. I think it's about 4 or 5 players who you can push in there and pull them back, push in there and pull them back. So that's my opinion on the best player. I don't think nobody has been clear cut above somebody where you can definitely say they are much better than just add somebody out. That's all I want to say. But thanks a lot, man.
All right, thanks for the call.
Okay.
Caller from New York, what's up?
Hey, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. What's up?
Yeah, just comment on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Speak up a little bit though.
All right, one sec. Yeah, my phone's dying. I have to plug it in. Yeah, my comment was about LeBron James saying he might be leaving the Lakers. Talking about marketing. Wanted your opinion on that. Do you feel that is just
that's
something to keep him relevant?
No, that's standard for clutch sports. They as far as agencies, sports, and agents, they play the game a certain way. And if you could see every time LeBron is up for free agency, he not always, but most of the time he will opt out, and he'll use that as leverage to make sure, hey, look, if I come back, I want a 2 or 3 year deal, right? Because if he opt in, it's a 1 year deal. He'll opt out to do 2 things: get a new deal, 2 or 3 year extension, or get some of his demands met. Right? I want to know that if I sign, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, or you're going to sign this player, or you're going to draft. You get what I'm saying? Right. That's what he does. Every time he re-signs with someone, it comes with some type of stipulation. So that's all it is. It's leverage. If you look at any clutch sport client, Draymond Green did the same thing to the Warriors. He opted out, and they put a bunch of stories out there to make it seem like he would go to the Lakers to play with LeBron, and they used it as leverage against the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, they usually do that during a contract year. But I was remembering last year, it was he needed surgery. He might retire. Things of that nature to kind of keep him in the media conversation.
No. It's just leverage. It's a leverage game.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
Right. That's it. Good show.
Yep. All right, so I want to mention one thing about Kevin Durant and the Warriors and Steph Curry, right? Because I was looking on social media, and for some odd reason, hey, Funky Time, I'm gonna get to you right after I finish this point.
Gotcha.
All right, so for some odd reason, people view Steph Curry different than how they view LeBron and Kevin Durant, right? So, and what I mean by that is Kevin Durant left OKC and joined the Warriors. We already know that LeBron James left Cleveland, went to Miami, left Miami, went back to Cleveland, left Cleveland, went to the Lakers. So we see them as team hopping, ring chasing, whatever the case you might want to call it. But everyone let Steph Curry off the hook because he stayed at his team and he didn't leave. But he's also joining a great player like Kevin Durant. Yeah. Come invite this player that's better than me on my squad because I want the ring that bad, right? It's the same thing. It's just that Steph Curry is not leaving his house to do what he needs to do. All right. My example for that is if you, I'm not going to say me, if you cheat on your girlfriend with her best friend, your best friend cannot be innocent and say, well, he came to my house and we cheated, so he should be more at fault than I am. Nah, y'all both did the thing. Just because he came in your house don't mean that you get off scot-free. So Steph Curry, just because Kevin Durant came to your team, doesn't mean you didn't do the same thing that he did. Whatever heat you give LeBron and KD for forming a super team with another superstar player, MVP caliber player while they was in their prime, you got to give Steph Curry and D Wade the same heat that you give LeBron and KD. Just because you stayed does not mean you're innocent. Funky Town, what's up? What's your thoughts?
Hey, brother, man. Hey, great show again. A little late, but that's okay. You own one and you right, and that was a great point just there, because Steph, as a fellow light skinned brother, he getting a little too much
leeway
of a pass.
Yeah,
he getting way too much of a pass, because he allowed somebody who was better than he was to come into his house. And again, all you got to do is who won the final MVPs when they were together. Who was the one that did that and this, that, and the other. So for me, I'm gonna say it. I'm in total agreement. He got away with. He gets off the hook because he got this innocent, squeaky choir boy type persona.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And they allow him to do all these other gyrations, everything, all that stuff he does. And he doesn't get the criticism that other players get. So yes, absolutely agree. But with this era and with what Silver and the NBA has been doing, to me, it's always been short-sighted, because the bottom line is the reason why the league grew, when you want to talk about 92 and all that other stuff, is because the world saw what the greatest players and athletes look like when basketball is played. When you cut out all the other stuff, when you see what the best athletes look like playing this game, this is what it looks like. You had the Argentina, you had Brazil, you had Spain, you had all these other Germany, you had all these other Yugoslavia, USSR. Yeah, they had systems. They had all kinds of systems that they played, and then you got Sabonis's father, who was a beast. We didn't even see him in his prime because he wasn't allowed to come over.
Yep.
Those people, but all that being said, they saw him over in Europe. But when they actually saw it, then there was the thirst and the demand to see NBA basketball. Then they got all of Jordan. They got to see Jordan all the time. They got to see Dominique. They got to see Screenwell. They got to see Vince Saturday when he came in. They saw Kobe. They kept seeing all these great athletes playing the game. And now we got these Pillsbury Doughboys, and people up here talking about they're the greatest players on the planet. And to me, that's why it's not the same. Like, to me, it's not sustainable. The raw numbers, as much as you want to talk about 75% and all that, if you want to look at Serbia is a small country.
Yeah.
Serbia is a small country in Europe, and Europe is the smallest continent on the planet. The bottom line is, yes, it's a global game and all that other. But the truth of the matter is, people, look, Ja Morant, if he didn't screw his own thing up with that the foolishness he was playing, right? It would really be between him and Gilchrist and Anthony Edwards and other people if they were able, like you said, if they were being pushed, if they were being given the machine, if the machine was behind them.
If the machine was behind them, yes. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, look,
that machine ain't behind them.
Exactly. Look how good Edwards is, and look how he played in you get what I'm saying? Like, but
yes,
showing up on the biggest stage, and then we see what Luka is doing, and guess who's showing up for Dallas? It's Kyrie showing up for Dallas.
It's Kyrie.
Kyrie's showing up.
Kyrie. And then you look at how much freedom now Luka has to be able to do, and the time he's had to do that. Now again, I don't dislike him because he's a fat boy.
I love Luka. I don't dislike. I love Luka and I love Jokic.
Right.
A whole lot.
I do. I mean, because they work with what they're making, what they do with what they have, they're making it work. I gotta only give you credit when you're able to do that. But what I'm talking about as a game, as its whole, the idea that these dudes are supposed to be the pinnacle, I'm sorry. I've been around here too long. I just can't fall for that.
I can't fall for it either. I don't know if you've seen the show. I don't know if you've seen the show we did probably a month or two ago when I was telling everybody why Anthony Edwards deserved to be in the MVP conversation and why and I said Anthony Edwards, SGA, and Tatum deserve to be in the MVP conversation with Jokic.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't think Luka deserves to be in there, but the fact that Luka averages almost a triple double is the only reason why he's in there. Not because his team is super successful. They barely got to a number 5 seed, right? So but they was in the 8 seed. Hold on, they was in the 8 seed most of the season and made a late push to get to the 5th seed barely. So it ain't his team success. It's not him doing it on both ends of the floor because he don't do it on defense. It's only because of the triple double stat. That's the only thing that you can prop him up with. But when you look at SGA, number 1 team in the West, you look at Tatum, number 1 team in the entire league, and then when you look at Anthony Edwards, he's top 5 in offensive rating for his team and top 5 in defensive rating for his team, and he plays both ends of the floor and was number 2 in the West. How do you overlook those 3 guys and your final candidates happen to be Jokic, Luka 1 and 2, and then let's just go ahead and throw SGA at 3, but you leave out Tatum and Edwards? I have no clue why.
Well, I mean, but I do, and unpopular as it might sound, is because we are more critical of our own when it comes. Well, and the world is more critical of our own. Like I said, the flaws that you just now laid out that are all facts. About not playing defense, about not hustling, about whatever, about being the center of all that stuff, not working as hard. I mean, to me, I had to catch myself last night because Tatum was frustrating me. And I'm like, because I could see it. I was like, dude, you're right there. Like, you're right on the cusp of like just beasting all these people. And then you pull up these threes over and over again. Like, dude, you know what I'm saying? In other words, bro, I just need you to be you. Like, I need you to, if this is you, fine, let me know. But I need you to just start beasting these people, man. Be aggressive. At the spots you need to be aggressive. But it's like, I don't do that same thing to Luka. I don't do that same thing to Jokic. Primarily because, well, a lot of times they get into their bag. But I mean, I was watching them Denver yesterday too. Jokic, there was a couple times in there he kind of, I ain't gonna say he shrunk away, but his lack of athleticism was a bit costly sometimes.
Yeah,
but again,
he needs that. He needs that whistle to be able to dominate. I mean, he's now. Don't get me wrong, he's an amazing player, and until somebody beat him, he's number 1 on my list. But what makes him unstoppable is the fact that whistle and that machine is behind him.
No, exactly. The machine is behind him. We're in agreement. But
that goes for a lot of players because that was Shaq too. Shaq had the machine behind him. Kobe did too. MJ did too.
But hey, bro. But look. Shaq. That was two-edged sword with Shaq. Shaq was getting his butt. You know what I'm saying? They let 2 or 3 people smack him around before they think about calling a foul.
Yeah,
I mean, Shaq attack. The Hack-a-Shaq wasn't a made up thing. And he was a liability in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
So when it came to that, but no, brother, hey, great show. Y'all hit that like button and let's just keep it rolling.
All right, man. Thanks, man. I'm gonna move to the next topic. Appreciate it.
Got it.
All right. Yeah, the machine. Let me see. The machine got Jokic 0 free throws last night. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, right? So I'm gonna say it this way, Jimmy James. It's not just the free throws and it's just not the free throws. That's a way you can look at it and get fooled and be like, look at the free throw disparity. That's the easiest way to look at it because a lot of people say that Steph don't get a lot of free throws. Right. So how is the NBA favoring Steph if he's not getting a lot of free throws? Well, they're doing it in other ways. The illegal screens that they get away with in Golden State, produces a lot of it helps facilitate the offense for Golden State, right? The calls that they get with, their freedom of movement, when people try to rough Steph Curry up off the ball when he's trying to run around screens and stuff like that, you'll get called for that. That's not going to put you to the free throw line, but what that does is that makes the defender say, okay, they're calling it, I can't touch him, I got to let him run. So now once you take your hands off the merchandise, now Steph can run. Now he dropping threes in your face. Same thing with Jokic. Some of the calls that he get are not shooting foul calls, but that gives the guy that's defending him a foul. It might give him 2 quick fouls, and now it's hands off the merchandise, and now all Jokic got to do is kill. Only thing, they can use the whistle just to get you to take your hands off of them, and the player is so good, once you can't rough them up and physicality is not a part of your defense, they're going to score. So I don't even have to put the player to the line. I just make the right calls to make sure that you can't rough him up, and now he's going to go ahead and drop 20, 30, and you're not going to be able to stop him. It's not all about the free throw line. It's about the hands off the merchandise calls, and then how much leeway do they get on defense. I've seen Steph Curry switch when they if you go back to the Boston finals when they played in Boston. I seen Steph Curry switch on the screen and get posted up by Al Horford. That's supposed to be a mismatch. He's not even supposed to be able to stop that. Steph Curry stopped him because they allowed him to foul the hell out of Al Horford. He almost had his arms around him. I was going crazy. Like, are you serious? Right? They wouldn't even allow him to get done up on defense when he had a mismatch. They was allow him to just foul whoever he was guarding. So it's so many ways you can get favor without me putting you to the free throw line, because that's too obvious. It's too obvious if I put a team to the line. They rarely do that. Every now and then they'll do it. You're looking like, man, how did they get 30 free throws in the third quarter or the fourth quarter? But they rarely do that. They rarely give a team favor by putting them to the free throw line with a disparity. They're way too smart and sophisticated for that to just make it that obvious. Oh, give them 30 free throws and give the other team 5 free throws. That rarely happens. That really happens. By the time the end of the game comes, they're so good at what they do. Remember, these are people who calls the game, and for some odd reason, whatever the spread is in Vegas, Vegas always wins, and the spread rarely gets covered in a way where Vegas lose. Right? So you gotta understand that these referees that's calling these games, they got this thing down to a science. They're not just out here. They're not getting paid the big bucks and getting put on playoff games because they don't know what they're doing. They know the spread. They know how to call the game according to what the head official told them to call it, like, because they get graded on it after the game. Hey, man, we told you to watch out and put an emphasis on this based on the film we seen. I wanted you to watch out for X, Y, and Z, and that's when I'm great. You got an A. I told you to watch out for that reach in, and you called it 3 times. You did your job. You get an A. And the highest rated officials are the ones who advance in the playoffs to the finals. So if a head official say call this, look out for that, put an emphasis on that, that's what you need to do. They playing a game too. All right, so let's get to the Phoenix Suns. And I was listening to a lot of stuff online, and it seems like I don't understand why, because it seems like everyone in the media wants to say the Phoenix Suns was a disaster, there was a disappointment, and all of this stuff. And the first thing they say is Kevin Durant is not X, Y, and Z, or he can't affect winning anymore. And I don't think he can be your best player on the championship team. And they say all that stuff, and they're like, it's time for the Phoenix Suns to break up and do a trade. And it's very weird, because when I listen to people, I listen to a Warriors podcast or Warriors radio station, 95.7 The Game on YouTube. And they said the same thing. Man, you look at Phoenix, Kevin Durant looks unhappy. Before the game was even, before they was even doing post games, the game was over, and before they went and showered and came and did post game interviews, Shams Charania had already tweeted and put a story out there that Kevin Durant was unhappy with the offense and all this crazy stuff. Sources say no names. And of course, Kevin Durant didn't tell him directly. He's just getting word that Kevin Durant was unhappy with the offense. I'm like, they just lost 30 minutes ago. They ain't even did the post game yet, and they put that story out. You know, so they already pushing that narrative. This is the same type of stuff that happened when he was in Golden State. You know, Kevin Durant needs to leave. We're not going to respect him because he won 2 rings with Golden State, and it was a 73-9 team and all this stuff. And all this noise, they try to push Kevin Durant away from Golden State because they wanted that team broken up, right? So they're doing it again with Kevin Durant again. Oh, he's a failure, blah, blah, blah. But they always come back and be like, but you know what? He would be really good on my team. So the Warriors radio station I was listening to, they said all of that and it was like, oh, man, if we could give up Kuminga, Clay, and Wiggins in a first-round pick, we'll take Kevin Durant and bring him back to the Warriors, right? So that's what the Warriors were saying, right? Then I heard Chris Broussard. You know, Chris Broussard loves LeBron. He loves Steph Curry. Those are his guys. He don't like Kevin Durant so much, or Kyrie Irving, right? So what did he say? I'm listening to him on the Odd Couple, him and Rob Parker. Oh, man, Kevin Durant can't win no more. It's time for Phoenix to get rid of him. You know what he would be good at? With the Lakers. I'm like, what the hell? So Chris Broussard all of a sudden, oh, man, go help out LeBron. He want LeBron to get help, right? You know, they go clown Kevin Durant for always trying to form a super team, but they're suggesting that he needs to go form a team with LeBron and AD. Why? Because they're being selfish. This is what they wish he would go. Break up from Phoenix. Why don't you go to LA? Right? And there was another Stephen A. Smith. Kevin Durant. What do you think he said Kevin Durant need to go? The freaking Knicks. Right? So it's funny that they got all these bad things to say about Kevin Durant, but they want Kevin Durant to go join their team, which is very, very, very funny. And I wanted to talk about that, right? Because I don't think Phoenix needs to break anything up. I just think they need to play better basketball and build a better roster, right? When people try to compare Kevin Durant to Steph Curry and say, oh, man, Steph Curry got one without Durant, and then he got another one when Durant left and all this stuff, it's a whole different process, right? If you look at Steph Curry, he gets drafted, and this team is building and building and building and building around him, and it took years. As a matter of fact, let me look up Steph Curry when he finally got his first ring, you know, because I got a point I'm trying to make. As far as building a team around someone, how long it take. It's not a microwave type thing, right? So Steph Curry comes in at age 21. He doesn't make his first All-Star until age 25. You know, to give a comparison to that, Kyrie Irving made All-Star his second year in the league, right? Here it is, Steph 1, 2, 3. He played 4 years. In his 5th year, he made All-Star, right? Now, as far as winning the ring, was it 2016 was his first ring? I don't know. You know, that's a long time though. 2015, 2016, whenever he won his first ring, he came in 2009. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 years. 7 years to build a team for you to actually start competing and actually start making deep playoff runs, right? And then when Kevin Durant came and then Kevin Durant left, they had another 2 or 3 years where they was trash, where they had to kind of retool around Steph Curry. But that took about 3 years for them to actually get back to the finals. So it's a process. That's my point. It's a process, right? So with Kevin Durant, he did that process as well. Now, mind you, he got to the finals at age 23. Kind of like what SGA is with OKC now, that very young team. Kevin Durant had a very young team like that with Harden and Westbrook and Ibaka. Very young team. And he was very young, 23 years old, got to the finals, right? This is a big deal. Steph didn't do that. It took years, 6, 7 years for Steph to actually get a team that he can get to the finals. Kevin Durant got there at age 23. He wasn't with OKC no 7 years like Steph Curry was. He did it a lot sooner than that. So if you give Kevin Durant time and you build around him, he can get very far with his team. Now, here's where Kevin Durant made his mistake. He left OKC and went to a team that was building around Steph. And it was successful. But once he left the Warriors, now he's starting over again. Steph never had to start over like that. He's always been where they built around him. So every time Kevin Durant leaves a team, that resets the clock for how long they got to build around him. And a player that's good as Steph Curry, LeBron, KD, if you make the team or the organization make a whole bunch of trades like what LeBron usually do, LeBron usually shows up and say, hey man, trade 6 players and get Anthony Davis, or trade the number 1 pick and get Kevin Love. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're doing big moves. Bring J.R. Smith in. It's a whole bunch of big moves that LeBron does when he goes to make sure I don't have to wait 5 or 6 years before I build a contender. I'm on a short time. So Durant was trying to do that and say, well, me leaving the Warriors, that's starting my clock over. I don't want to wait 5 years to get a contender. I want to do it fast like LeBron did. So bring me this player, bring me that player. But it was always a bad fit for Kevin Durant because of circumstances. We can't foretell that 2020 was going to happen and you're going to need a vax, right? You can't foretell that Kyrie Irving was going to step on Giannis' foot and twist his ankle in the playoffs. You couldn't foretell that James Harden was going to pull his hamstring almost off the bone. You get what I'm saying? Like, all these things are happening, and he had a failed super team in Brooklyn, and then he goes to Phoenix, and now you're restarting the clock again. And instead of him doing what everyone is suggesting and leaving freaking Phoenix now and going somewhere else and restarting the clock, he needs to stay put. Right, he needs to stay put. And what I think Phoenix should do is they just need to rebuild better. Unfortunately for Bradley Beal and unfortunately for Phoenix, is Bradley Beal might got one of the richest contracts in the league. Phoenix picking that up was really crazy and desperate. I wouldn't have done it just for that contract. I like Brad Beal, but that contract is massive. Right. You can't trade it. You can't move it. So unfortunately for Phoenix, they're going to have a player that's making almost 60 mil next year. Well, 50 mil. It's going to be making 50 mil next year. And the best thing for him to do is come off the bench like Ginobili. So your highest paid player is going to be a 6-man. That's what needs to happen. Right. I need Brad Beal to come off is instant offense, not trying to set up Booker, not trying to set up Kevin Durant, not trying to run point. I need Booker to come out as a 2 guard and put up 15 to 16 shots a game very quick. I want your offense to be quick like Jordan Clarkson, Jamal Crawford, Ginobili, and this is not a 6-man, but Michael Porter Jr., the way as soon as Michael Porter Jr. catch it, he's shooting. That's what I want from Bill. I want Bill putting the ball in the air, putting it in the hole, not just shooting, but going to the hole as well. That's his job coming off the bench. Don't worry about this first unit. Don't worry about trying to set people up and run point. You're a 2 guard. So play 2 guard, but you're going to have to come off the bench. So what does that leave on their offense? That leaves Booker being able to play his natural position at the 2. And that leaves Kevin Durant being able to play his natural position at the 3, or you can put him at the 4 and you can find another 3 to start. It could be Russ O'Neal, right? I would not start Grayson Allen and have a 3-guard lineup. That's not ideal, right? Allen's going to have to come off the bench as well, even though you just gave him a big contract, right? So they're in the hunt for a point guard. Now, I don't know who's all free agents. But if you're just I'm just thinking about names. I don't know if they're free agents or they're going to be available this summer, or they're going to have to make a trade maybe. But what I wanted them to do at the trade deadline is find one of these teams who got 2-3 point guards and they can spare one in the trade. I like Orlando, right? They start Jalen Suggs. They come off the bench with Markelle Fultz. or Greg Anthony's son, Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony's too small for me. But could we have made a move and got Markelle Fultz? Someone who has the capability of scoring, who can shoot it a little bit, who can get to the hole, who's big enough to defend multiple positions, who can actually run the point, and who's not trying to get points, who's okay passing the ball. Like we have to have a point guard to where when I make a pass and you score, I get the same gratification that you get by scoring it. A scorer like Brad Beal or Booker is not that type of player to where I get hot because I'm making great passes. That's what Rondo and CP3 are. That's what pure point guards are. When I pass the ball and you score, I feel like I'm getting hot. Booker and KD needs to see the ball go in the hole. Brad Beal needs to see the ball go in the hole. They don't get gratification and satisfaction from seeing one of their pass turn into a point, right? Markelle Fultz does. You could have got Markelle Fultz, or you could have went another route, got a bigger body defender type point guard like Dennis Smith Jr. Brooklyn got so many wings and point guards to spare. You could have got Dennis Smith Jr. and he could have been starting and he could have been playing lockdown defense. Everybody go and look after we finish with this and just look at the defensive highlights by Dennis Smith Jr. He's going under the radar on how elite he's been as a defender the last 2 years. In Charlotte last year, elite defender. In Brooklyn this year, elite defender. They could have him. They could have got Dennis Schroeder. They could have got Lonnie Walker the fourth. These are 6'4" point guards that can hit open jump shots, open threes, who can get to the hole and actually elevate, dunk on you, or finish strong at the rim. And they all play defense. That's what, and they're pure point guards. That's what you need as your starter. So imagine Dennis Smith Jr., Dennis Schroeder, Markelle Fultz, or who was the other name I said? Or Rondo. Bring him out of retirement. Or Rondo. One of those point guards you can have setting up Kevin Durant, setting up Booker, right? And then you can have Brad Beal come off and boom, he can be doing the same exact thing. As soon as Booker sit down, Brad Beal come up and keep that pressure applied. And then in the fourth quarter, those guys are not so good where you have to play them. So if you bench them in the fourth and have Brad Beal out there, then it all makes sense. It's all good. He can finish the game. He's a 6-man. He don't start, but he's finishing the game. And you can't complain. You're the highest paid player in the league. Do what I'm asking you to do as a coach. You're making a pretty penny. It's going to be better for the team. Ginobili had to suck it up as well. So Brad Beal's going to have to play a little bit of 6-man. They're going to have to get a real point guard to set them up, to balance that team out. Nurkic I like, but Nurkic is not a guy that's above disappearing. He disappeared at the playoffs. He just disappeared, right? So I don't understand why they won't give a chance to someone like DeMarcus Cousins or Dwight Howard. I would, right? So I would definitely. I mean, these are easy things they can do without having to make trades or break the bank, right? Easily, I'm bringing in Dwight, shot blocker, rim protector, know how to defend, smart, can get you something in the post as well, athletic, right? Boogie Cousins is a little bit different. He's a big body. He can pass just as good as any big man in the league that can pass. And then he can stretch the he can stretch the floor all the way to the 3-point line. Right. So either one of those guys, I'm taking that. But I'm also utilizing Bobo a whole lot more than Frank Vogel did this season. A whole lot more. I just didn't understand the Bobo minutes and what was going on with Devin Eubanks, why he was so in love with Eubanks. I don't get it at all. I don't get why Eubanks was such a commodity to Frank Vogel where he had to play him so many minutes and Bobo couldn't get no minutes. That one I don't get. Right. So those are the type of moves I'm making. As far as who contract is falling off, Royce O'Neal, well, they already re-signed Grayson Allen, so he's locked up for a couple of more years. Royce O'Neal, you got to make a decision on that. He's only 30. I like him. He's a knockdown jump shot 3-point shooter, and he defends. So I would keep Royce O'Neal. I would try to re-sign him, but I mean, that you got Nasir Little locked up. Eric Gordon has a player option. Josh Okogie has a player option. You didn't even play Josh Okogie. He's only 25. I'm probably letting Eric Gordon go. If he don't pick up his option, I don't re-sign him, but he'll probably pick his option up. Josh Okogie will probably pick his option up as well. Who knows? But we got a team option on Rowdy. I don't pick that up. But Bo, his contract is up, and he's only 24, and they didn't even utilize him. I gotta keep Bo. The same production you got from Porzingis in Boston or Wemby in San Antonio or Chet Holmgren in OKC, with having a 7'3" or above player with long arms who can stretch the floor with 3-point shooting, who could also post up, who could also move on the perimeter as well, but who also could protect the rim and shot block. I don't understand why you don't want that on your floor. Frank Vogel was a mess this season, right? I don't know if he need an assistant to come in and install an offense for him or what, but I wasn't impressed by what they was running at all. It was just high screen and roll all day long, and that's another reason why they probably didn't want to play Bo, because his slight frame, they didn't want to keep running screens to him. That's why they had that big body but big body Nurkic and big body Eubanks. Every time they got in the game, they was constantly running screens at them, right? So 82 games plus playoffs, getting hit with screen, with bodies every other night like that. You need a big body to take that type of punishment and set those good screens. So I can kind of understand why Vogel wanted that, and you probably can't do that too much with Bo. But why was the offense all about high screen and roll? That's what I don't understand. Why was the offense all about screen and roll when you got players like Booker who can come down off a pin down, catch and shoot, come off a curl, catch and shoot. You can do a floppy, catch and shoot, double screens, mid-range, like all these things. Kevin Durant, same thing. The type of stuff that Rip Hamilton, Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, these type of shooters that did, like, you have to watch them and say, I can use these same plays for Booker and Kevin Durant because they're that good. So I have to have those are easy points to me. And all I seen Phoenix do was either post up Kevin Durant in the mid post or run high screen and roll. That was their entire offense. Their entire offense, man. But that's just my thoughts on the Suns. Do I want to open the phone line? I'll take 2 phone calls for this one. I'll take 2 phone calls because it seemed like y'all might want to weigh in on this. But that's my thought on the Suns. I think that's what they should do. Bill goes to the bench. If you're not going to bring in a new coach in place of Frank Vogel, then Frank Vogel is going to have a better offense installed where he's utilizing his players a little bit better. Bill go to the bench. A real point guard runs the offense who also plays great defense, and find another guy at center other than Nurkic. And Bobo has to play. Caller from Los Angeles, what's up?
Hey, what's up? I just wanted to bring up a point of being eliminated the way they were by Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. I was wondering, do you think that Edwards has set a precedent in terms of getting the old guard out of the league? Because for a minute, I thought that players like Zion Williamson and John Morant were losing to the Lakers, like LeBron and the Lakers, too much for the old guard to be dead. And I was very happy to see the way Anthony Edwards just destroyed Kevin Durant. Do you think that maybe next year, or will we start seeing LeBron and KD and Curry and all the old players? Are we going to start seeing them no longer be able to hang with even throughout the season with the new players?
No, because they too good. The only reason why these new players are ceremoniously chopping their heads off is because they got backing from the league. You got to watch the game on how they call it, and you can see what the You could see what the deal is. Notice notice whoever Kevin Durant has played since he left the Warriors has chopped his head off in the playoffs.
Yeah, KD's the one out of all. But see, out of all three of them, KD has done the worst in terms of since he left Golden State. He seems to have.
He hasn't done the worst. He's had the worst done to him. This is how they're calling the games. When they called the game, okay, what happened to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in Boston 2 years ago when they got swept? This is the same thing that they did to Steph Curry when they played the Kings in the first playing game, and he couldn't do nothing.
So
now,
you think it's like something the league is doing is not that KD's teams have been bad? You think that it's something else more than that?
Oh no, it's both. The Brooklyn Nets with Steve Nash under Steve Nash was just as bad as Frank Vogel as far as what offense they was running. But you also have to look at the fact that when Harden and Kyrie and KD were both all three healthy, when they had Milwaukee Bucks down 2-0, and both of those games was won by blowouts, they were unstoppable. That like the team they put together was too good to really cheat. But when Harden got hurt and Kyrie got hurt as well, it turned into something totally different.
Got it. Okay, so I mean maybe that series with and KD, that was just that might just be a one-time thing. It might not. No,
I ain't saying it's a one-time thing. Kevin Durant's never going to get the favor again, ever. He's and unless he go join Jokic. That's the only way Kevin Durant will ever be on a team that's going to get the favor of the whistle. Like he's not a star that they're marketing anymore. Like that's why I played the clips from Silver in the first segment. He was giving you the names that they're pushing and the teams that they're pushing. He said the names: Jokic, Luka, Edwards, SGA. He said the names, right?
Yeah,
those are the people they're pushing for their business. It's their business. They got the right to do it. But Kevin Durant has not been a player that they've ever wanted to market ever since he left the Warriors.
Got it. Well, I just wanted to see. I'm just hoping to see the other players besides the ones that were named, like the John Morants and the Zion Williamson, the ball boys. I don't know if they're ever if the elder will ever come back, but the younger one, LaMelo. I'm just hoping to see that when they do the in-season tournament again, and when they in the playoffs, I'm hoping that we could see some of these younger players replicate what Anthony Edwards did to Kevin Durant. But I appreciate you taking my call.
All right, thanks, bro.
All right.
Let's get one more call in before I move to the next topic. Hit the like button as well, man. That helps out a lot, man. If you hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I see some new guys in here and girls. Lakers getting calls. Heck, yeah, the Lakers got calls, especially down the stretch. But against Jokic in Denver, maybe not, which is gonna be interesting because, like I said, with the Boston series, the calls that Boston got against Brooklyn when they swept them was not the calls they got when they got to the finals against the Warriors. They flip-flopped and the Warriors was getting the favor of the whistle. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Minnesota looks like against Denver. Does the league want Jokic to go out in the second round or not? That's going to be very interesting. Are they going to get those same calls against Jokic, the player that they want to market, the player that represents outside of US, right? And that's the 70, that's the 75% viewership that they trying to continue to pull in. Are they going to allow Jokic to look as bad as Phoenix looked against Minnesota? Remember, this is a team that's ranked top 5 offense, top 5 defense, right? So you would think when they play Denver that they should be able to do some damage. This is a team that that won more games in Denver. Right. So you would think Minnesota might be able to do some damage, but it's gonna be real interesting when we watch them play and Minnesota just look totally different. Right. So just keep that in mind for the second round. No way Jokic gets the same calls the Lakers and LeBron gets. It depends on how you look at it. Is he going to the line as much? Probably not. But is he getting away with foul? Remember, Jokic can't play defense or move his feet well. So when you watch Jokic play, the way you can really exploit him is get him on an island and make him have to play defense on the island. And it's not hard to blow by Jokic. But you know what makes it harder? Is when you try to blow by him and he hits you with his chest and he bumps you right when you about to go up for your shot. That's what he was doing with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis could easily get by Jokic. But every time he got by Jokic, right before he was about to go up and shoot, Jokic would bump him with his chest. He didn't touch him with his hands. He would bump him with his chest. And AD would go flying off the mark and take an off-balance shot. They never called it. He chest bumped this man every time he got in the air. They never called it. So if you're going to allow him to do that, that's going to do a couple of things. One, he's barely going to pick up fouls. So he's not going to get in foul trouble. You remember back in the day in the 90s where people was guarding Shaq, and when you couldn't guard Shaq, like you remember Divock getting 2 fouls and going to the bench, and then the backup center coming in, Pollard, and he get 2 fouls and go to the bench, and then they got to let Chris Webber guard him. And then Chris Webber was their whole offense. So if he get 1 foul, they got to take him off Shaq. And now they got to put Funderburk in to guard Shaq, an undersized guy. Like, fouls was getting used. I remember the game plan against Shaq when he was in Orlando when Jordan and them played him. They started Luke Longley. Luke Longley was using all his fouls. Then they'll bring Will Perdue in. Will Perdue use his fouls. And then Bill Winnington use his foul. Then they put Rodman on him, right? So what happened to big men getting in foul trouble? Why we don't never see Jokic in foul trouble? How is it a player who can't play good defense for some way never gets in foul trouble? How come Luka, who can't play defense, somehow never gets in foul trouble? But the shot blocker in AD, who can move his feet, is getting in foul trouble more than he is. You got to ask yourself that. So it's not just how often we put you to the line. It's how often am I calling fouls on you? And how often am I calling fouls on people who try to rough you up before you take a shot? So you're not getting to the free throw line, but you're getting foul calls, and people that are trying to guard you and people who can guard you well, they're picking up fouls, so they got to soften up their defense on you. That's happening a lot with Denver. That's happening a lot. So, yeah, he had 0 calls last game. You mean to tell me he didn't get fouled? You mean to tell me he had 0 free throws? That's different from getting foul calls, Cass. That's different from getting foul calls. And like I said, how often is he fouling? Whistle favor is just not about how many times we send you to the line, right? That is not. Jokic do be hacking, yes, and they don't call it. So, yeah, I mean, you just gotta watch the game with a different eye. You just can't look at the stats and be like, "Oh, Jokic he only shot 2 free throws. That's unfair." It's not just about the total number of free throws. The referees are way too sophisticated to just make it that easy. Where all you got to do is go look at the stat sheet, and you can tell where the favor was going. It don't work like that. All right, let's move right along, man. So Rick Barry. So I did a show, I want to say last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was a podcast that I listened to, or I don't listen to it often, but I was listening to it that day, and it's called the Hoops Genius podcast, right? So I do want to give them a shout out because I used that sound bite last week or 2 weeks ago of BJ Armstrong talking about how carrying, traveling, and all of this stuff is giving the offense of an advantage in this era of basketball because the referees act like they don't see it, they don't call it. I did that. I produced that show, and it was good. There was a lot of people in the comment section, but I also wanted to talk about Rick Barry kind of saying the same thing, but he went a little bit more in detail. So I want to play for you what Rick Barry said, and I'm gonna come back with my commentary.
You know, it is great you say that because it was interesting. People keep talking about 75 and how the game has evolved, and you're like, it really hasn't. It's still basically the same game.
Well, it's the same game, but it's not played the same way because there's more emphasis on the 3-point shooting. There's too much emphasis on one-on-one stuff, and they still sometimes abuse the 3-point shot. I mean, the 3-point shot used properly is a great weapon. It's a great weapon, but it shouldn't be your primary weapon. The Warriors lost the championship because they did nothing but shoot 3-point shots in Game 7 against Cleveland when LeBron made that incredible block. But other than that, Iggy's breakaway, every shot they took was a distance 3-point shot. It was just everything from the perimeter. Go to the damn basket, get to the free throw line, put some points on the board. That was one of the worst seventh games in the history. Was probably the worst last 4 minutes and 20 or 40 seconds of NBA's finals game 7s in the history of the league. 1 3-point shot by Kyrie Irving, 1 of 2 free throws by LeBron James. That was it. It was horrible.
So you don't see them really, the league and having to do anything. Let's say we're talking about the 75.
Well, we said we get the officials to call it by the rule book.
Okay.
Stop the traveling, stop the carrying the ball, stop the moving screens, call the damn game according to the rule book because players will adjust. If you're going to allow them to get away with it, hell, of course I'll keep doing it. Call the game according to the rule book. It's such an advantage to let a guy carry the basketball or take an extra step. That's ridiculous. You know, or a guy to move on offense. I mean, what are you giving all this advantage to guys? They're breaking the rules. Call the game according to the rule book. I charted a game a few years ago, Chicago, Atlanta. 59 moving screens weren't called. 59. That's insane. I can't even tell you how many times they carried the ball, how many times they traveled with the ball. It's pathetic. I mean, for me to watch this game the way I was taught how to play the game and to watch this and what they allow to let go, it's an embarrassment. I'm sorry, it is. It's an incredible game. The athletes are incredible. What they can do is incredible, but they're getting away with murder. And I blame the officials. Call the damn game accordingly. And it's the same thing with screens. I mean, I'll give you a good lesson here. Okay. You hear even the coaches, when I'm hearing the coaches saying, well, he didn't set a very good screen. Trust me, guys, a player doesn't set a screen. Doesn't say when you have to set something and implies that you need to do something, you have to set a screen. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility as my teammate for Clifford Ray, let's say, is to learn to put yourself in the most advantageous position to allow me to take my man and run my man into him, thereby making him a screener. He's a stationary object. He only becomes a screener if I run my man into him. So if I do a crappy job of setting my man up and he's going to come over the screen, what does he think? Oh, I'm supposed to set a screen. So he moves a little bit to try to what? Set a screen. That's violation. It's a moving screen. It's a foul. Officials don't call it unless you take a guy's head off. That's the problem with the pick and roll play. They don't run it properly. They don't understand it properly, and even the coaches are talking inadequate or not intelligently about it.
So yeah, he was heated, and I like that whole interview. He was heated about a lot of things, but I am too. Like you can't be taught basketball the right way, middle school, high school, and some people who went and played, JUCO and all that stuff. You can't be taught basketball the right way coming up in the time where I came up, where you had to do everything crisp and you had to do everything according to the rule book in the right way, right? The screen is really on the ball handler. When you're the point guard, the big man that's setting the screen, his job is just to stand there. It is our job to make sure that we set the defender up just right so I can run him into the screen. Right? It's an art to it, right? You're not supposed to just dribble this way and then the screener moves and hits the defender. Now that's not how it's supposed to happen. That's a moving screen, like Rick Barry said. That's a moving screen. You're not supposed to be sliding into your pick. You don't slide into the screen. You're supposed to be stationary, and the ball handler sets the defender up and slightly. I mean, you got to be this close to the screener when you dribble around that screen, so your defender either is going to hit that screen or have to go under it or chase you around the screen. There should be no space for the defender to slide between you and the screener so he can continue to defend you, right? You're supposed to be this close to the guy with no gaps. Therefore, he has to go under, chase you, or actually hit the screen. What they're doing now is there is a gap that when you dribble past the screener is closing the gap and hitting the defender, and they're not calling it. The NBA doesn't call it; they allow it, and that's just the ball handler using the screen. We're not even going to talk about the off-ball screens. We talked about that on the last video. I showed footage of Golden State Warriors on the off-ball screens. They're moving even worse than the guy who's setting the on-ball screen. The off-ball screens are even worse, right? So the traveling, the three-step backs before shooting a three, the palm of the ball, under the ball, and carrying, the extra steps to the layup and all these gather step stuff that they're trying to teach and all this crazy stuff. All of this is giving the advantage to the offense, right? And, people always talk about there's no new rules to help the offense out. But you're not talking about the directive that the referees have on what they're going to allow and not call, right? You don't have to make a new rule if you just tell the referees, we allow that. That moving screen is okay, right? We're just the rules is already in place. We're going to interpret them different. We're just going to tweak it and interpret it a different way so you can allow that. You don't have to make a new rule, right? So we can tell that the NBA or Adam Silver, they have made a purpose that they want to see more offense, and that's why they was allowing all those moving screens, the travels, the step back, all of those things, and handicapping the defense because they wanted more offense. And I think this year it's became very clear to Adam Silver that that's not a good business model anymore. And as you can see, the defense they're playing in the playoffs now has all been close to 90 style defense. They're not calling. I don't know if you heard when they do those replays, when they're reviewing foul calls, when they say marginal contact, that's a point of emphasis now. Marginal contact. So the stuff that usually gets to the free throw line for last year before the last, as of late, you're not getting to the free throw line for it anymore because they're saying that's marginal contact that didn't impede you from getting your shot off clean, right? His hand was just on your back. He didn't push you or anything. He didn't hold you or nothing like that. His hand was just there, right? They're saying marginal contact, right? So anything driving to the basket, they're allowing, right? When you're driving to the basket, if my hand is on you a little bit, if I'm giving you some body, if you jump into me before you get the shot, they're not calling it. And that's what I like. But they're going to have to take it a step further and fix all these moving screens, fix the traveling and all that stuff. And then we're going to have some good basketball, because if you can see in the playoffs, the offense actually picks up. When you let the defense do their job and you let the defense be tough, you actually get amazing offense and you get amazing games, right? So you didn't have to cheat and help the offense out by handicapping the defense so you can get more points. We actually and we're getting better games because if the shot making is going to become better if the defense steps their game up. So that's what we're seeing in the playoffs. I don't know if y'all been noticing it. That's what I've been seeing. And I'm gonna go ahead and open the phone lines up, man, and let y'all weigh in on this one. I'm gonna get to some of y'all comments. All of it is ruining the game in the long run. People want competition, not scoring. Yeah, I agree. Let us see defense as well. Let us see defense as well. Yeah, LeBron be getting first downs on the basketball court. Be getting first downs. So super chat, man. Cash, appreciate the super chat. Have you noticed that they have been calling it better in the playoffs? Yes, 100%. That's what I was just saying. They're not calling ticky-tack fouls on the drive, right? So they're allowing more defense, more tougher defense on the dribble drives and on the shot as well. So you just can't throw yourself into people and get that foul no more that like you used to. Yep. Yeah, first downs. He getting first downs. All right, I'm gonna move on then since I ain't getting no phone call on this one. Y'all just wanted to call in on the LeBron stuff. Y'all just be wanting to call in on the LeBron stuff, man. The last topic, Stephen A. Smith, man. So Stephen A. Smith made the news again. And he's a hypocrite, yo. So he was on First Take talking about how he called the NBA to find out why Westbrook wasn't suspended for a game. You know, they was playing the Dallas Mavericks and they was losing, and Westbrook was trying to fire his team up. And he started playing physical basketball on Luka, a couple of hard fouls. I think Luka tried to drive to the hole. He grabbed him. Luka flopped and made it look worse than it was. Then people pushed him. He pushed him back. Typical stuff. Playoff basketball. Nothing crazy. He didn't throw a punch. He didn't kick nobody. He didn't slam nobody. Just playing some tough physical basketball, right? And he got ejected. And Stephen A. Smith was like, he should have been suspended. And I was like, that's funny that he thought he should be suspended. But you know what? I'll just play for you what he said.
Made some news over the weekend because I was doing the NBA Countdown on ABC and ESPN. And one of the things that I said after watching the Los Angeles Clippers lose to the Dallas Mavericks Friday night, I said that Russell Westbrook was awful in terms of the way he acted. He nearly clotheslined one player flying in for a layup. He knocked Luka Doncic to the ground on a couple of occasions. One time when Luka Doncic was driving by him, he grabbed him and yanked at him. Who knows? He could have separated his shoulder.
Get out of here.
And Luka Doncic got on the stage like, what you doing? He pushed Luka Doncic off. Then when he did that, he got pushed in the back by P.J. Washington. And then he turns around and the charge after P.J. Washington and pushes him in the chest. He's shrugging off officials. You can't act like that. Now, I've been one who has been complimentary about Russell Westbrook since he arrived with the Clippers. It was an awful experience with the Los Angeles Lakers. There's no doubt about that, but he was not awful with the Houston Rockets. He was not awful with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was awful with the Los Angeles Lakers, but he has been the Energizer Bunny and everything that the Clippers need. No doubt about it. But Friday's game 3, what's the belligerence all about? Where you coming from? Other than the fact that Luka and Dallas was whipping their ass. Now, when Russell Westbrook clothesline because he did go for the ball, but he did knock the guy upside the head and acting like he didn't touch the guy. That's ridiculous. You hit his head, not the ball. But the point is, one could argue that wasn't intentional. But then when you want to be demonstrative about it, deny it, and then flex with everybody else, usually you're getting teed up for that. In some cases, that would have been a flagrant 2, is not a flagrant 1. It definitely was a flagrant 2 when you did that to Luka. It should have been. And when you're sitting up there and you're acting like that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't enough for him to get ejected. He should have been suspended for the next game. I still stand by that. But once again, people take my words and they do what they want with it. I sat up there and said he deserved to be suspended. I still stand by that. I said I even called the league office to inquire about, why didn't you suspend him? I didn't call the league office to sit up there and say, suspend him now, get him suspended. No, once the decision came that he wasn't suspended, I'm like, wait a minute. You've been preaching about these rules and regulations, and if you did X, Y, and Z, you're going to get suspended. Could you explain to me why you didn't suspend him? I want the thinking behind that. You can call the league office and ask for yourself.
So I don't know if y'all seen the game or seen the replay of it. It wasn't bad at all. Westbrook had a hard foul on a guy. He went for the ball, right? When he went for the ball, he hit him on the head, right? So he had that foul, and then Luka tried to drive by him, and he grabbed Luka's arm. And then someone pushed him, and he pushed him back. He's saying that he should have been suspended for that. He got ejected from the game for getting into a tussle with the Mavs team. So he got ejected from the game. That's the punishment. He's saying he should have been suspended a game. And it's a playoff game. He should have been suspended. And he kept saying what you did to Luka, what you did to Luka. So what I think the deal really is the person that he actually was agitating is the reason why Stephen A. Smith felt like he needed to step in and the league needs to protect Luka. Don't agitate Luka. I think that's what he was getting at. Because just last year, when there was a player that he likes and a player that he has a relationship with and a player that he has a working relationship with, he was saying the total opposite. And what that player did was a lot worse. Listen.
Were you surprised Dre was suspended?
I was not surprised at all, but incredibly disappointed. Let me say this.
In him or the NBA?
The NBA.
Okay.
I'm disappointed in the NBA. I love me some Adam Silver. And, we all know this. I'm disgusted with the NBA this morning. I'm sick and tired of everybody acting like this is just another game. It's not just another game. It's a playoff game. You got to do something far more flagrant than this to be suspended. Now, just for the record, I was on the phone with the league office this morning. Their position is clear. It was the excessiveness of the stomp, how demonstrative it was by Draymond Green, and it was also history. They took those two things into consideration. We all know this, just so now, because I got some notes here, guys. Obviously, he was suspended for the one game in the 2016 NBA Finals. We all get all of that. That's how the Cleveland Cavaliers won the damn series. They'd have lost that series in 5 games, but that's a different subject for another day. Draymond now has been called for 6 flagrant fouls and 27 technical fouls in 147 career playoff games. The fines that he has paid on top, in addition to his 3 suspensions, he's had to pay $1.26 million in fines. We understand that Draymond Green has a history. I'll get into that in a second. What I'm saying to the National Basketball Association is we understand the investigators go, they interview Draymond Green, they interview Sabonis, they come back to the league office, they give them the information, and then Joe Dumars supposedly is the one that's making the decision. I don't want to hear that. This has Adam Silver's in on this too. And that's fine. You're the commissioner. My issue is you see what Sabonis has done. He's not some innocent bystander in all of this. Context, which I'll leave it to JJ to provide, definitely needs to be taken into consideration here. And then you got to take into consideration the fact it's the damn playoffs. And considering how great.
So his argument for, I mean, in this, it's a crazy contrast, just a year apart. Crazy contrast, right? First round, it's still the first round. This is almost exactly a year apart. For Draymond Green, a player that he has a work relationship with, who is going to get a job at TNT as soon as he retires, who's already plugged in with the media. The media always protect Draymond Green, no matter what he does. And we know he's done some idiotic stuff. This is the day after the chest stomp. I'm stomping Sabonis on his chest while he's on the ground. This is the things that he was saying. Number one is the playoffs. So he's saying you don't suspend a guy when it's the playoffs. It's too much on the line. But when you look at Westbrook, he didn't mind Westbrook being suspended during the playoffs for something less than what Draymond Green did. So what Draymond Green did was more egregious, more dangerous, and he has the history of doing those same things. And Stephen A. Smith is saying you don't suspend a guy in the playoffs, but he's calling the daggone front office asking why they didn't suspend Russell Westbrook. The other flip side, when he called the front office for Draymond, he was asking, why did you suspend him? When he called for Westbrook, he's asking, why didn't you suspend him? Right? So those are the two things that I contrasted. Then the players who supposedly was the victim. Draymond Green stumped on Sabonis' chest. Sabonis is not a coveted player in the NBA and by media standards. Draymond Green is. On the flip side, Luka is the player that's the coveted player in this Westbrook situation. So Stephen A. Smith both times went to the more popular player with the most protection and which one is being marketed and which one is more prevalent. He went to the protection for that guy. Same situations almost, but different thought processes from Stephen A. Smith. That's hypocritical to me, right? For you to say one year that you don't suspend a player for a playoff game, but then the next year you're calling for Westbrook to be suspended during a playoff game for something less egregious. I don't get that. I don't understand that at all, man. So I just wanted to say that part, man. I didn't even want to stick on that real long. I just thought that was noteworthy to mention. I've done videos on Stephen A. Smith before, and they get worse and worse, man. This dude is diabolical, man. This dude reminds me of Puff Daddy, man. They all, I think they're the same person. Puff Daddy and Stephen A. Smith got a lot in common. He's just a diabolical dude. But that's all I wanted to say about that. Draymond single-handedly ended Steph title's chances. Yeah. And he ran away some good players as well. He ran away Kevin Durant, ran away Jordan Poole. I think Wiseman not being on Golden State anymore has something to do with Draymond as well. He just didn't want anybody that was going to threaten his position with the Warriors on that squad, right? But it's neither here nor there, man. I open the phone lines up one more time before I end the live. I got 9 minutes before we get to 2 hours, and that's usually my limit. So we can take phone calls for 5 to 10 minutes before I end it. On any topic, phone calls on any topic, preferably the Rick Bear, Stephen A. Smith. But I'm good with any topic, man. Call away. And don't be shy with that like button as well. Hit that like button. We got 118 in here right now. We should have at least 100 likes, man. So help me get to 100 likes really quick. Everybody hit the like button. We'll take 1 or 2 more phone calls. If you want to send a super chat or a cash app, you can do that as well. But other than that, if we don't get a phone call, we can go ahead and end it. We'll be live again Friday with the full panel. Probably sneaking a little bit of football, but it'll be mostly basketball and playoffs as well with the full panel on Friday. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, but definitely hit that like button. I'll call in another time. Too much dinner work in progress. All right, man. I'll catch y'all on the next episode, man. I appreciate y'all rocking with me for the full almost 2 hours, man. One last opportunity for everybody to hit the like button. All right, so no phone calls. All right, man. I'll catch y'all on the next episode. See y'all on Friday with the full panel. Peace.